Tonight, I'm privileged to be hosting a very, very important person in the industry of energy who will help us understand some of the things that are going on and some of the responses that have come from government on some issues that have been raised. We want to understand the basics and the details of it and be able to analyze. Last week, we had the Honorable Ejapa Mbesa, who is the Deputy Minister of Energy, speaking to, for example, the GNPC Gensa deal and some other issues as well. I'm sure we'll put them up to our guest tonight and we'll get his version of the story as well. Kwadwo N Poku is the Executive Director of the Institute for Energy Policies and Research, INSTEPA or INSTEPR. INSTEP. That's just
the R is silent.
The R is silent.
Yes.
So Kwadwo N Poku is the Executive Director of the Institute of Energy Policies and Research, INSTEP. Thank you very much for joining us, sir, and good evening to you.
Hi, good evening, my brother.
I hope you're doing very well.
I'm very well.
A lot is happening in your industry.
Yes, just that a little, my Poku is, there's no O in front.
So just Poku?
Yes, Poku. Kwadwo N Poku.
Kwadwo N Poku. Right, that's well noted. I'll keep note of it.
Thank you.
But like I said, there's too much happening in your industry recently.
Well, the energy sector is the single most important sector in the country. It contributes to a big chunk of our GDP, and any happenings in the energy sector affects every facet of the society. If you look at the oil and gas sector, if there's an increase in fuel prices, everybody gets affected. There's increase in the power sector, if there's increases in the electricity tariffs, everybody gets affected. So it's the important sector that we have in the country. And as a result, all the happenings in there, most people are interested to know what is really going on in the sector.
But by looking at the current state of the sector, for example, if you look at price hikes in ECG, tariffs, if you look at the Russian-Ukraine war, which is cited for a number of economic woes and issues that we have as a country, even in Africa and across the globe. If you look at some of the things in the oil industry, are we moving forward as a country? If we want to set the energy sector as a base?
Well, when it comes to the recent electricity tariff increases, I wouldn't necessarily bring the Russian-Ukraine war into that. When PLC issued the review, PLC came out to say that the factors that they used was the FX to the city, right? Then you have the crude oil prices, which is the gas price. Fortunately for us, the gas that we buy for our power generation is being negotiated downwards recently because the gas is our own gas. So it doesn't get affected by the problems in the Russian-Ukraine area. The only thing that is there is the volatility around the world, which is causing difficulties in the sector and across the country. Any little thing that happens, you would find out that a small increase in tariffs, because there is other commodity increases, it also affects our lives. But I will not say that it's because of the Russian-Ukraine that we have the recent electricity tariffs. It's a major review that is done almost every 3 years, and it was the time that it should be done.
I'll come back to the details of it and whether you think it can, the reasons the ECG cites, for example, being able to overcome the losses it makes and some of the issues, whether the increment in tariffs will be able to help resolve some of these issues. But let's come to the very important point that you make, that the energy sector can safely be described as a backbone of the economy. And I have this statement here which says, I'll read just a bit of it. In 2021, ratings agency Fitch indicated that Ghana's government debt will continue to rise in 2021 and 2022 due to high pandemic-related spending and the realization of energy sector liabilities. In our base case, we expect debt to plateau to about 75% of GDP from 2024. Now, at the Accra Business School, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, said the 17 million legacy debt from the sector pushed Ghana to seek IMF bailout. According to ISEP, Ghana has still some 20 billion cedis debt outstanding in the energy sector alone, despite collecting taxes. So we failed on the, technically, failed on the e-levy. And there are suggestions now that the energy sector and its legacy debt pushed us into the IMF bailout that we are currently?
Not necessarily. Look, I have always said that when MPP government came in 2017, we all remember the famous vetting of Honorable Ejakon when he now said that we need to basically make sure that the debt, which at that time stood at 2.something billion, and he categorically said that that debt needs to be dealt with. But the problem we had from that point is that we did not stop the debt accumulating. I've always given the analogy that if you're looking at the energy sector debt, it's like somebody who is bleeding, right? Before you can cure the wound, you need to stop the hemorrhaging. So if somebody is bleeding, you stop the bleeding, and when you stop the bleeding, then you can now heal the wound. You cannot heal the wound unless the bleeding stops. You cannot stop the energy sector indebtedness unless you stop the accrual of more debts. So what it means is that in 2017, we knew how much the debt was. But what we did not do is that put in measures to stop the accrual of the debt. So by putting in measures to now say that, look, I know the debt is 2.something billion. I'm going to do this to claw back the debt. What you fail to do is to say that from this day onwards, I'm stopping the debt from accruing more. So by the time we put in all the measures to stop, to address the debt that we met, because we didn't stop the debt accrual, by the time we've now gotten to, we now realize that, hold on, the debt has accrued again. In 2018, 2019, the Ministry of Energy came up with a document. That was the first time that the government actually looked on itself and said that, look, what am I doing wrong? And assessed the things that they need to do. If not, the energy sector debt was going to basically skyrocket, okay? So there are measures that they started put in place. That was how we now heard about putting in place no more take or pay, but we do take and pay.
Yes.
Basically stopping trying to put prepaid in a lot of facilities, and also government looking within and say, look, where can we do the cost cutting that we need to do? But look, all those things have just been English. It's been said, but nothing concrete still have not been done. The prepaid meters have still not gone to the facilities that they're supposed to go to. Government is still not able to cut down the waste in the sector, which is basically making sure that the debt keep accruing. So as we speak, we talk about take and pay, right? The finance minister came to the floor of parliament and said, look, from this day forward, I'm going to change all contracts which are take or pay to take and pay. And some of us said that, hold on, you cannot do that because it's a contract between two people. You need the consent of the other party
to be able to arrive at a conclusion.
Vary the contract, right? But again, it's been 4 years down the line when that statement was made, and nothing has happened because those contracts that are still take or pay is still take or pay.
But the minister, the government says that most of these power purchase agreements have been terminated. And
no,
so
that was the okay. So let me put it this way: in 2017, most of the contracts that were terminated were contracts that were not in operation. Contracts
but which we were paying for.
No, we were not paying for those.
We were not paying for.
No,
them.
we were not paying.
There were about 14.
The only contracts that were terminated were contracts that have been signed but were not operational. Those were terminated. Some of them that has already secured financing and some sort of guarantee were postponed to come online 2024 onwards. So you looked at which one can I terminate because I've signed an agreement with him. He has not operationalized the agreement. That one you can terminate. Which one have I signed? He's operationalized the agreement. He's gotten some sort of financial commitment. If I cancel that, I will get a judgment debt. Okay, like the one that we did, the GPGC contract that we terminated that ended up in the arbitration and they won. So the contracts that were terminated were contracts that have been signed but were not operational. Those that were operational, none of them were terminated. So the only thing that going forward you looked at was, look, as far back as 2021, we've really stopped talking about the debt, the capacity charge indebtedness. The overcapacity situation existed in 2017, 2018, and 2019. When we entered 2020, we have now come out of that situation where we had that excess capacity that we're paying for. So excess capacity was only a problem in 2017, 2018, 2019. Where we sit now, we are actually getting into the arena where if we do not procure more power very soon, we might end up in doing so. Because
if we do not procure
more power very soon. Yes.
Within which time space?
Well, I'm looking at in the next 2 years, if we don't bring online more power, we will probably end up in doing
like the car power shape and the
other power.
What format are you talking about?
Well, any power. Look, so what I'm saying, okay, put it this way. We are around about, there is what you call spin capacity. When you have your energy sector and you have thermal generation and hydro generation, you have to have redundancy. So your redundancy is about 18 to 20% of your total capacity. So now what you have is, let's say we have about 4,200, let's call it 4,000 megawatts of capacity.
Yes.
So 4,000, your 20% of that is 800 megawatts.
Okay.
That is supposed to be your redundancy, what they call spin capacity. So what that afford you is that when there's maintenance, there is shutdown,
you are able to
something to play with.
Yes.
Because some of these thermals and all these machines has to go into maintenance.
Right.
Where we are today, the power that we basically need now, we are around the 3,200 megawatts per day usage now.
Yes.
Our total installed is about 4,000 to the 4,200. So we are playing within the redundancy.
800 redundancy.
The redundancy that we need.
Yes.
What it means is that we are growing at about 250. We are growing about 250 to 300 megawatts a year.
Wow.
Okay. So what we are looking at is, if we go through this year, at the end of 2022, there is a timetable that was made about, I think, 2018. If you look at the table, in 2020, we are actually in the 2023 figures. So if you look at the capacity that we're supposed to need this year, we are actually a curve ahead. So we are in the 2023 figures. So we are actually ahead of what we are supposed to do with all the industrialization that is happening. So my take is this. It takes about 3 to 4 years. Now, government cannot do single sourcing for power. We need to go through tender. We need to identify the company. The company has to sign the agreement, go through financial closure before the power plant can be commenced. Power plant normally take 3 to 4 years.
To build?
To build, yes. So if you do not, that whole process is, let's say, 6 years. So as I speak to you now, if we have about 800 megawatts redundancy, and we are doing,
and that's the exact redundancy we need to have.
Redundancy.
And we are doing 250
about
to 300
a year. Right.
We are going to go beyond the redundancy in a year or two.
No, we're going to go past the redundancy in 3 years.
In 3 years.
Yes. It takes you 6 years to bring in online one new power plant. From today, if we start that process today, it's going to take us 6 years because tender, selecting the person who wins the tender, going to financial closure, sign the agreement, and start building the power plant, it will take you 6 years. So what we are looking at.
So you're saying that even if we start today,
procuring and going through the process,
we get a new plant.
We get a new plant on in 6 years. So
we are still going to have.
Yeah, we are playing within. We are playing within that. We are getting it. We are getting it close. And look, recently, I think. Was it Honorable Kwabena Donko or John Jinapo that said that? And it became a political topic. A lot of people say like, oh, no, they are no. But that's the truth. We are cutting it close. By the end of this year, there was this talk of Ameri going to Kumasi.
Yes.
And if Ameri had gone to Kumasi, some companies had come up to say that they would also put up new plants in Kumasi. That would have helped to have more generation coming on. Ameri already is part of our mix, which makes up the 4,000, 4,200.
Exactly.
So it's nothing new. The new companies that would have located in Kumasi, if the plant had moved or if the pipeline had been built, we all don't know what that has happened with the ministry, with that conversation as yet. But the fear is that we are leaving it too close not to have that
any power coming on.
Yes, that situation where we might need more power.
So if I get it clear, in 2 years, we do nothing, we are going to face power crisis.
If in 2 years we do nothing, down the line we'll face power crisis. We will not face the power crisis in 2 years.
Yes,
but
after 2 years.
After 2 years, we'll start facing power crisis. Yes.
But and the point even now is, if I look at your calculation, maybe 3 to 4 years, even if we start today, after 2025, we will still face power crisis before the power
actually comes on. Yes,
in 2026 or 2027 thereabout. Is the ministry aware of this?
Of course. I mean, if I know, they know. So I don't need.
Is the ministry taking any steps?
Yes. And the conversation was the Kumasi conversation, We don't know.
Which you say wasn't going to add anything.
No, the Mary was not going to add. But then when the gas
in the
was
mix of the 4,000.
Exactly. But when the gas was in Kumasi, the minister made it known that other companies. You see, one of the things that some of us have said is that all the power plants are in the shoreline, in the southern part of the nation. Strategically and for security reasons, we need to have some capacity in the middle part of the country. So moving a Mary and building a pipeline to Kumasi is strategic. All the experts have advised that we need to have generation enclave in the middle of the country. So that was what the ministry has been working on. How far that has gone, you have to ask the minister how far that has gone. I don't have the update on that. But that is the new thing that is supposed to bring on board the new capacities that we need. But
back to the issue. The issue here now is that it is not the energy sector that has pushed that into the IMF negotiations.
I don't think. Look, Ghana's problem is multifaceted. IMF, we brought that on ourselves. We could have averted that if we had known the reality in 2017. Some of us said that, look, Mahama has messed up the economy. Okay? The economy was so bad in 2016 because we have gone into IMF. And the reason we went to IMF because when we had the doomsaw, the economy slowed down, there was no productivity. We had borrowed, and we are having to find money to pay our debts.
Right.
And most of our bonds that were done earlier were maturing. So we're in a bit of a fix. So they went to IMF in 2015. In 2016, 2017, by the time the new government came in, what the Nanado-led government should have known was that the economy was bad. And by solving the economy was not to borrow yourself out of debt. But what happened from 2017 to today was that we borrowed without any proper solution. Now, there is this statement that the Minister of Finance made in the floor of the House and of Parliament, and for me, it was shocking. He said that he has, in his first budget, he said he has slowed down the accumulation of debt. And I'm like, hold on. Are you not supposed to reverse the accumulation of debt?
Rather than slow it down.
Slowing down accumulation of debt doesn't mean you stop borrowing. You just slow down the accumulation of debt. So we continued on that trajectory of borrowing. Okay. And for me, that was a problem because the indebtedness is what has landed us where we are today. Not the, you understand? Because the issue is that, yes, we had the overcapacity, which we dealt with in 2017, 2018. We didn't have money, but government has to find money to pay that overcapacity, which was a big of an albatross around the government's neck. But the little money that we had, guess what? We also tried to do the banking sector restructuring, which we paid over 23 billion Ghana cedis to people whose savings would have otherwise been lost. Today, nobody is thanking the president for that. Okay? So 23 billion down the drain to people who have lost their money. So you can say that.
But I mean, this is on the side. The people haven't been jailed yet. The people
you see, there are two types. Some of us the banking sector cleanup, there are two types of it. People don't seem to focus on what. Look, there are two types of banking sector cleanup. There were banks that were insolvent, that were closed. There were customers whose deposits have been lost by businessmen who are today still walking away, not jailed, okay, who have just basically chopped their deposits.
Exactly.
All the DKMs and all the Ideal Finances and all these companies.
Even in the commercial and universal banks.
Exactly. So their deposits were locked up. But the government paid back all those deposits to the customers. So aside saving some of the banks, government took our money, our taxpayers' money, and paid the depositors their money.
Exactly.
That also was part of money that's belonged to me and you, over 23 billion that we've heard, right? So the overcapacity payment that we did, the banking sector cleanup, all those things were money that we could have saved. We didn't. We spent.
To support the economy.
Right. Then COVID hit, right? We didn't know COVID was going to hit. COVID came in, right at the end of COVID, we've gotten ourselves into war. So the situation we are in, yes, the energy sector would have played a key in terms of the overcapacity that government paid for. But if we had put certain things right, we have put in the prepaid meters, we have made PDS work. Okay, even when PDS did not work, we actually went straight back into it and did another private sector participation, found a partner for ECG. Okay, we would have been able to stay out of trying to find Ministry of Finance finding money and popping it into ECG and propping up ECG, because within the last 3-4 years, about $800 million of government money has also gone into ECG. which could have been money that the private sector was supposed to bring in. So in a way, I wouldn't blame the energy sector for us going to IMF. I just think that we just brought on ourselves. We could have
Is the finance minister culpable? I mean, there are a number of positives. There are a number of positives that you have listed, which actual events which have brought us to
finance is not my strong suit. But I wouldn't call him culpable or not. I'm just saying that look,
there are things you should have done, like you're saying.
Yes, I would do it differently.
There are things, okay, sure. So
yes, I would do it. You see, there is always difference of opinion. When there are difference of opinion, it doesn't mean somebody is culpable or not. The way I would do things, the way you would do things is different.
The finance minister is,
judge you,
as you are saying, borrowing his way out of the problem, which is not feasible.
Well, no, but in the school of economics and finance, people think it's possible. It doesn't mean, you see, look, there is no, our brother, Dr. Bawumia, has given a lot of lectures, right? He believed in those lectures. He believed that in the school of economics that he went to, those things, all things being equal, should work. But they didn't. That's the point, all things being equal. He didn't lie to Ghanaians. The finance minister don't want to basically do things that will put us where we are. But it's landed us here because in his train of thought, he believed that if he do the things he did, Ghana will be better off for it. At the end of the day, we are not. It doesn't mean that he's culpable. I would say that Poku would not have done the way he did it. So I always don't like passing judgment when it comes to something that is not hard fact like science. I'm a science student. Science has formulas, okay? The formula is there. It leads you to one answer. Economics and humanities are not like that. There are multiple of factors that works and doesn't work.
If you're watching us tonight, we're having a special time with Kwadwo N, Poku, the Executive Director of the Institute for Energy Policies and Research, INSTEP. And too much to learn and too much to talk about tonight. So far, we've been talking about how we've landed at the IMF and the energy sector issues, especially the losses. But how do you think? You've stated a bit of it. I would ask this last one on that sector before I come to the ECG issues. PDS are coming. Unfortunately, we came back to ECG. For you as an expert in the field, what should happen to ECG? That is where people think the problems of
private sector participation. There is no two ways about that. ECG, look, in the time of when we're going to do PDS, or NUCO as we called it at the time, some of us said that, look, let's do the there are two types, there are two sides to ECG. There's the distribution work, which is where the engineering, the transformers, and the big cabling is. Then there's the customer service end of ECG, which in that industry they call it the last mile. The last mile is basically from the pole to your house, where it involves your metering and your customer service. When you have fault, who you call and all that. The topic on the table, and there was a group that I belong to called COSECA. And COSECA was a group that was formed that has Kofi Bento and quite a number of civil society people in there. And the conversation was that let's do the last mile, multiple concessions. And that's a document that has been around in the Energy Commission for some time. So the point is this, look, in terms of the big investment that the NUCO, which became PDS or whoever is bringing in, let that person take the engineering, the wiring, the transformers and all that. Keep that as one concession. Give it to one company. But the last mile, the customer service end of it, the metering, split the country into multiple concessions and give it to various companies. So if I live in Adabraka and I belong to company A, and company A, there are about three or four companies that serve that area in that concession. If I don't like the customer service from this company, I can switch to the other company, which will now give me a new meter and I become his customer. Okay? For me, I think if we have done that today, you realize that ECG is one of the big problems they have is metering. People have money, but they can't get meters.
Yes.
Because the cost of acquiring meters is daunting. ECG has about 4.5 million customers. Okay? Only about less than 50% of them are on the old metering. Even in the prepaid, there's smart prepaid and then there's the old prepaid which needs to be changed. So the amount of investment that ECG needs to go and connect all these customers, be it new customers or customers on the old prepaid that has to come into smart prepaid, the investment is huge. So if we have done the multiple concession at the last mile, it would have relieved ECG of that burden. We didn't. Okay, at that time, Honorable Ejakun was of the view that we should let PDS run that concession for 5 years before splitting it into multiple concessions. Some of us disagreed, but that is where we are. What ECG needs is private sector investment. Government cannot do that. Because look, government has to find money for agric. Government has to find money for hospitals. Government has to find money for ECG. Roads. All the other things with the small collection of taxes that it does. So you need the profitable area. Electricity is profitable. Okay? If somebody does it well, reduce the technical and financial losses, it is profitable. So let the private sector come in. Unfortunately, when we did PDS, all the warnings we gave was ignored, and we gave it to a bunch of people who didn't have money. Unfortunately. And that's
and now we are where we are.
Exactly.
I mean, currently.
It's unfortunate, but hey.
Once you're talking about that, we are talking about ECG. Let me bring this up. Power cuts, is it power cuts?
No, the metering problem.
Metering issues.
The prepaid
access to prepaid. Being able to buy credit and put on your card to have lights. And you made a statement which was carried by some of the news portals. So this one says, the executive director of the Institute for Energy Policies and Research has fingered officials of the IT department of the Electricity Company of Ghana for the technical hitch that affected its metering system. According to Kwadwo Poku, the managing director of ECG, Samuel Dubik Masubie Mahama, has been trying to enforce some changes at the company, especially in regards to how the credit system is controlled, but is facing some resistance from personnel at the IT department who controls the system. While he stopped short of accusing workers at the IT department of sabotage, he noted that the ongoing impasse may have a direct link to the system shutdown that ECG had experienced over the past 6 days, as of the time the story was running. This comes after the ECG prepaid consumers were left in the dark after a technical challenge affected the purchase of credits for their meters. Customers in Volta, Takrade, Tema, Kilkus, Kaswa, Winneba, Swidru, Kufuridi, and Koko, and Tafo were affected. On October 1, the ECG said they had fixed the vending challenges. However, some consumers were still reporting challenges on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
What was exactly the case? Are you able to say that truly the vending challenges was linked to, of course, not sabotage, but some IT personnel having something to do with it?
No, I call it sabotage. Whether it's, you see...
You call it sabotage?
Yes. You see, there are two conversations.
Right.
Is it a sabotage? Yes, it's a sabotage.
You think it's a sabotage?
No, hold on. It's a sabotage. Whether it's a hack or whatever, hack or sabotage are cousins, same word. Somebody hacking your system is sabotaging your system, okay? But the question is it internal or external? Because there were files that were encrypted. So somebody introduced a virus onto the files. That is a fact. Nobody can deny that. Whether it was done from within or from external is where the investigation is going to establish. So that conversation needs to be situated. What we cannot confirm, or what management cannot confirm, is whether that hack or sabotage or whatever word we want to use was done from internal or came in from external. That is what the investigation is going to find out. But let's put something in perspective. ECG has had multiple problems in the past. And every time ECG has problems, people try to make it look like, oh, the MD, but everybody that knows about ECG knows that in the last 20 years, we've always had problems with ECG. No one managing director has been there for more than 4 years. So it means that the ECG problems outlive all managers, okay? All managing directors. We have a gentleman who is now the managing director of ECG, who spent 4 years of his time as a board director. And when he was on the board, he was also the committee chairman for finance. So he's had some time to look at ECG and their books and understand how the company works. And we've always looked at two things. ECG is not making money because they have 10% technical losses and 19% commercial losses. Combined, that is 29%. Yes. That means that if you give power to ECG to distribute, bear in mind, there's a Janko who does the generation. He puts 1,000 megawatts on the line, give it to ECG, straight away from get-go, 29% of that is lost. It doesn't come back.
290 megawatts.
You understand?
That is gone.
That's gone. And me and you, for ECG to be able, for PULC to be able to now make sure that we pay back the power, factors about 25 to 26% of that into the bills we pay.
And somebody
is basically, those are losses. So what the MD wants to do is that, okay, technical losses, I need money to change old equipment to bring that in. So that one takes time. But for financial losses and commercial losses, I need people to get up their ass to go and do work. I need people to go and take out the prepaid meters, the postpaid meters and put in prepaid meters. Illegal connection, cut it out. Go and collect the bills that we are owed. So all that he's doing, he formed a task force for the illegal connection. He formed a task force to go around and collect the postpaid customers. Then he said, look, there's a problem at ECG. You have credit. What me and you go to take our card to go and buy, we give them money and something is put on our card. We come home, put it on our meter, and the same money we spend comes on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Only one person at ECG generates that code.
Wow.
Only one person.
Wow.
Forever. Now, the way it's done, if you're looking at 4 parts of ECG that comes together to make sure that they are financially healthy, engineering comes up with the losses that they have in the system. Finance is the one that collects the money to know that, okay, this is the amount of money coming to us. Customer service is the one that does billing and all that comes in. Then there's one leg of the conversation, credit. How much credit actually goes out? Now, let's say you are the finance director of ECG. If you want to know how much money is coming to you at the end of the month, you should know how much credit was sent out, don't you? But would it surprise you to know that the finance director of ECG does not know at any point in time how much credit the IT have sent out? He doesn't know.
How is it so?
Thank you. So this whole conversation started when the managing director was like, look, let's have one platform. That platform will be able to be visible when the IT guy who sends out
is sending out anything.
Everybody can see, because
exactly.
One person sits down and let's say there are 8 regions that ECG works in, right? So he sends out 1 million credit to each region. Only he knows how much credit he sends to these regions. Nobody else does.
He sends 1.5, nobody knows.
Nobody knows because basically it's a computer that he sits behind and type it out. Then the regional manager sends it to the district and they now collect the money and send the money back to finance. But when finance gets the money, he needs to reconcile that money with something else.
There is no reconciliation.
There is no reconciliation because he doesn't know how much credit the IT person sent out.
But how many CEOs have been sitting on this?
It's been, look, put it this way.
And they are aware of this problem.
This problem has been there forever. What the most you get from the IT, okay, is a report. They tell you how much credit has been sent out. So it started off with, give us your vendor list. How many people are your vendors? The number keeps changing. It's not possible. You either have 10 vendor lists, or you either have 10 people on your vendors, or have 8 people on your vendors, or 100 people on your vendors. The IT department could not give the MD one vendor list. It keeps changing. Then the internal control of ECG has been able to cite people in East Legon who were selling credit but are not on the vendor list of ECG. So already there's something fishy going on. So the ECG MD wanted them to give him the database with which they are working with. That was what led to the Yoko and National Security having to come in because the IT department or the guy in charge just refused to give the information. Blatantly refused. So it was when the National Security and Yoko went into the IT department to collect these hard drives. 3 days later, we have
the system goes
off. So for me, I'm just saying that, look, there is a sabotage. Whether it was internal or external, somebody needs to prove it. But I have no doubt that it was somebody intentionally sabotaged the system. Whether it was done from outside or internal, this investigation will come and all of you will get to find out.
Are the guys still in place, the IT guys?
I honestly don't know what the process is now or what is going to happen or what has happened. I'm not really tuning into that for the last 5 days.
Wow. So I told you that lots are going to happen on the show tonight, and a lot of information is going to come up tonight. And I'll quickly want to go for the second break because of time, but lots and loads of messages coming in tonight. Good evening. This man is too intelligent when it comes to the energy sector I'm proud of him. He's my role model and wish to learn under him. From Secret Admirer, kudos to you, Prof. Poku. You didn't add your name. Please, when you're sending, kindly add your name. Nana Kwamwa Boateng Ablikuma Central says, good evening. I could see the NDC really profited from the energy crisis and went ahead to sign frivolous and needless contracts, resulting in Ghana paying more monies for excess capacity. The NDC is in opposition, but still enjoys the take or pay contract monies. Say no to incompetent lies from the NDC. Nana Kwamwa Boateng sent in that one. Where is this one coming from? Please add your name. Good evening, sir. Listening to you and talking about placing the power plant in the middle of the country, then let's think about Chimano, somewhere in the Bono region and not Ashanti. Thanks, Lebanon. Kufuridia sent that one. Good evening. Poku is really pointing out, I'm sure you want to write, the relevant point, but the technocrats and policymakers are focused on a different sector or different sectors at a time. Kudos. My question, what's the role of PPP in the energy sector solution in Ghana? Well, we'll note that down. I think he's answered it already, but we'll still note it down. Mr. Poku, please. Government did not pay me my money that locked up in CDH from Temanu Town. I don't know about this one, but well, let's see. Mr. Poku, please stop what you are saying there. You didn't add your name. The ECG team in Ghana should undergo a training because the employees don't have enough knowledge about their work. I suggest the MD should ask developed country colleagues to give the whole Ghana staff training here. Talking here and there will not solve the problems here, since the ECG is very ignorant of their profession. You didn't add your name as well. You see, Kwesi, my candid opinion is that in order to keep customers' failure to pay their bills, be it commercial, lots of message coming and I want to be able to read this one. Be it commercial or domestic, we should do away with all metering device and systems and give flat rate. This is possible because ECG draws power through cables and premises. Therefore, whether power is consumed or not, bills will be paid. Mind you, in the same vein, ECG produces power whether someone will use it or not. And this would eliminate so much problems. Nana Abiang, the first, sent in that one. So you can keep your messages coming in. We're hard pressed for time, but let me go for a quick break. When I come back, we'll be talking about the Ghana Gensa Energy and the 1.5 billion financial loss from GNP. So we'll look at that. Stay with us.
To help meet your business and private printing needs successfully, we have just the right products and services. At Appointed Time Printing Limited, we specialize in digital printing, offset printing, packaging and security printing. Our innovative designs and complete professional touch on our print products such as posters, flyers, brochures, magazines, poll cards and any other print solution of your choice ensure that our customers are always happily connected to their audience. With our security printing section, our clients are assured of a highly secured and confidential work process from start to finish. At Appointed Time, our prices are very, very competitive. Locate us at the old GNTC building near Swansea Shopping Arcade, Accra. Contact us on 0501 454165, 0501 454167. Appointed Time Printing Limited. Our printing is the solution.
Good morning once again, and welcome to another slide into the archives on Memory Bank. This is yours truly, Tony Menka.
An opportunity to prove yourself. What do? Run off?
I'm about to be hit with a 2 million Ghana cedi lawsuit and you're telling me I'm asking for too much?
You are under arrest.
I didn't rape her. She owes me an apology.
If you want to spread news, you give it to the ladies.
I didn't say you should go and sleep with him.
So what should I go do with him? Sing him a lullaby?
We are giving Uptown FM up to 9 a.m. to retract and apologize. boy be crazy. If you can't cause for yourself.
Get out.
You don't go fire anybody for you. You go be a break cause.
Well, you're welcome back from the break. Lots been happening and lots of messages coming in. I would want to do this one very quickly and maybe come back to the messages on the ECG because I'm getting loads and loads of messages on ECG. This one is from one of the online portals. It says, in the previous essay, we announced a joint investigation by Imani and the Africa Center for Energy Policy, two Accra-based policy think tanks, into a case of possible fiscal recklessness on the part of Ghana's national oil company, GNPC. In our initial analysis, we explained how potential losses of up to $100 million per year could build up for Ghana if the GNPC's current arrangement with Gensa Energy Holdings, a US-based Ghanaian-owned energy company, persists under current conditions. Frequent readers of this site must be aware of our long-standing disquiet about the GNPC's lack of technical prudence, frequently courts financial disaster for Ghana. This inquiry follows faithfully in that tradition. We intend to, well, I'm looking out for the whole mysterious saga can be traced to an agreement on 20th April 2018 between Ghana Gas, a state-owned Ghana gas distribution company, which for a short period before the advent of the current administration in 2017 was a subsidiary of the GNPC, and Gensa, in which Gensa Limited committed to pay a reasonable price for gas to power embedded off-grid power plants it leases to various large mines in consumers in the cement and ceramics industry. I don't know if you have commented on this already, all the issues and how much we are going to lose as a country, or we are even losing already as a country, and what the way forward should be for us.
Well, basically, if you look at the contract that exists now between Gensa and GNPC, what the civil society space is calling for is an abrogation of that contract, because the current price at which GNPC is selling the gas to Gensa makes government lose money. The GNPC Gensa deal gives the gas to Gensa as 2.7. Okay, all the power companies like the like of Car Power and Asogle and everybody is paying 6.08. Now, you cannot say that the company is an industrial company and you're going to reserve capacity on their pipeline, more or less give them like a refund for the investment that they are doing, okay, to reduce the price of gas for them. It is a regulated market, and Energy Commission stated that in a letter in 2019 that you cannot discount a regulated commodity. Okay, so if GNPC wanted to give them a discount, what they should have done was they give them the discount as a refund to the investment. What that would have done is that in the long term, the state will own the gas pipelines. You understand? Because you've invested money in the pipelines. You are giving a discount on the gas that you are using since of the investment you've made. After you have recovered your investment plus, then the money is paid back. The gas pipelines belong to the state. GNPC did not do that. GNPC comes out to say that they are reserving capacity. My analogy to that is that there's a car which goes to Kumasi. If you sell fuel to that car and that person said, okay, give me fuel, after a while, discount the fuel. It's okay. I'll discount the fuel. Maybe after a while, the discount can buy the car. You don't decide to look at the option of buying the car with the discount. You decide to reserve a seat in the car. That anytime I want to go to Kumasi, that seat I will sit in for free. But if the discount you are given in the long time, you own the car. Why are you worried about the seat in the car? That is the GNPC thinking. GNPC want to reserve a seat in a car instead of owning the car, which doesn't make sense to anybody. So for us, we are saying that, look, abrogate the contract. For anything at all, if Gensa insists on keeping that contract, then those pipelines, after they've recovered the money that the discount have given them, the state should own the pipelines.
I was going to go into the monies which have been paid, of course, again on GNPC, but we dealt with that last week, into a foreign account without parliamentary approval.
Oh, which is the JOHL. No, but there's everything wrong with that. You've seen the ASEP Imani statement on that. Basically, some of us are talking to Honorable Atachian. We are talking to the ministry. We are talking to Finance and Energy Ministry to say that, look, let's not do that. Look, it is a time where we need dollars. We are telling the mines and the oil companies to bring us dollars. But we lift, and we put the money in the Ghana International Bank in London. Why? Why are we keeping our money?
The minister was here last week. He said the money is not up to. Well, of course, it is 100. It is 100, but they have done some expenditures.
All we are saying is that, look,
it is not beyond the where they should go to Parliament.
You see, sometimes people try to justify a wrong. We are not saying that all the conversation can be had. What we are saying is that we are in Ghana. There's an entity where the shares sit, which is the GOHL 7%, where it sits. It's intangible, it's immaterial. Shares can sit anywhere in the world. It doesn't mean the receivables should also sit outside the country.
Right.
What we are saying is that the shares can sit outside the jurisdiction, but the receivables should sit in Ghana. We need dollars to show up our city. But when you got $100 million, you put it to London. Why?
Let me give 1 minute to... you made a statement some time ago that we need two separate ministries for the energy sector.
100%.
You still stand by that?
Yes, 100%.
Why do we need?
Because the ministry...
I know two deputy ministers. I think even three.
If you know how the ministry...
So the minister himself, Honorable Ureku, Honorable Ejapamesa, and the other person. So
if you know how the ministry works...
Yes.
The ministry works in such a way that every correspondent to the ministry is addressed to the minister before minuted to anybody else. Now, that time, I have worked in the ministry before. In 2001, 2003, I was a special assistant at the Ministry of Tourism, right? At that time, we were carrying about half bag of Ghana must go for the minister every day to go through. So all the correspondence coming in, if you need focus, you need concentration, you need direction, you need that one person to be on top of the ministry's action, you can have all the things that go to the ministry go into one person. It's not possible. The Ministry of Energy has overgrown its size. You need the Ministry of Oil and Gas, you need the Ministry of Power to give focus, to give direction, and to give innovation to save the sector. If not, you have one person trying to move. Look, if Napo comes out of that ministry, and he'll be honest with you, he will side with me that the ministry needs to be split because it's too much work for one person to do, despite the deputies that you have beneath him. Because you see, you have a fledgling industry, and it's an industry that also comes with a lot of money and a lot of commitment. Every letter that comes to the minister, he alone cannot peruse all those letters. So you need different people to do that work.
So we've been spending some time with the executive director of the Institute for Energy Policies and Research, Kwadwo N Poku, has been our guest tonight, and I'm still getting a lot of messages. So tonight we've discussed extensively the issues of how we have energy sector issues and how we have landed at the IMF, and he says that if we don't put everything right, after 2 years, or even in the next 3 or 4 years, we may be facing extensive power crisis. On the ECG matter, he believes that there is a sabotage, but the extent to which it is, whether it is internal or external, is what the investigations should focus on. Some very serious revelations, and the Ministry of Energy has outgrown its size. He still stands by the fact that there should be two separate ministries. Let me see if I can pick a few of your messages. Unfortunately, our time is up, but a few of them, and then I run away from here. Good evening. Please ask him why ECG have not yet given a way of new vendor application. This is Audu from Kumasi, is sending in that one. Good evening, host. I really agree with your panelist, Mr. Poku, and I believe that ECG was sabotaged and hence must rule. Honorable Kamel Abdul Mumuni from Boko sent in that one. So what on earth will that IT guy get? Just to steal money and live lavish life. No worries. They will die in Ghana and will still, and Ghana will still be there. Well, I think that part is a bit harsh. Good evening. The man in your studio is too good when it comes to energy and its related matters. He is a top-notch. We, the youth in MPP, are ready to give him the mantle to lead us come 2024. Are you going to go for
I've declared
presidential candidate.
Yes, I've declared to run for the flag bearership of the party when the nominations open. I've made my intentions known.
Have you done the grassroots analysis? Have you done all you need to do?
Yeah, we've done.
Are the delegates going to vote for you?
I don't know that yet, but I'm.
You're going to run against Alan Chematin, Baumia, Wacheja, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
You are hopeful of winning.
100%.
We are with you. We'll be supporting you when the time comes up. Unfortunately, I'm not able to read the rest of the messages, but thank you very much for all the messages that have come in. We are grateful. My name is Kwesi Afie. Good evening to you all.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.
Friends and family, it's coding time on Code Factory. Come, let's